Hello, my name is Caitlin Barrios, and this is my artifact analysis project. So this is what my annotated table looks like. I have my MAE 610 and MAE 670 up at the top, and my 8 POS courses that I went ahead and took and how they align with each PLO. So for MAE 610, I chose an artifact that was my initial plan of study that I completed in this course. So I went for this artifact, we went ahead and planned out the courses that we wanted to take in our program and read through some of the course description. So underlined in red on my artifact, I have some of the advanced approaches that were reflected in the course description. So just for a few examples, I have some using current research to inform the instruction and introduce some strategies that we could use. And this artifact aligns with PLO 1 at the introductory level. At this level, I was able to understand the approaches that would be able to be incorporated into instruction. And this artifact demonstrates competence in this PLO by reflecting on what I understood from the integration of advanced approaches. This artifact was selected from SEL Playbook 9, card 5. So I went ahead and used 2 of the SEL playbooks for my for some units. So I aligned this playbook with PLO 2 at the introductory level. And this playbook was titled Positive Behavior Support. So circled in blue, I have some learner characteristics that were highlighted in the playbook, and underlined in red were some of the customized learning strategies that were introduced in the playbook. So this is just a graphic organizer that was used in the program to sort of organize the information that was reflected. And so just to point out a few, using some strategies that help students and through encouragement and supporting them by creating positive environments and really supporting students emotionally, as well as, with their traditional sorts of things that they learn in school. So in this artifact, I reflected on keeping the individual student in mind when planning out instruction. And so at this level of introductory, I was able to understand how to incorporate these learner characteristics that were outlined. And this artifact demonstrates competence in this PLO by indicating that I have knowledge in customized learning experiences. This next artifact was selected from SEL Playbook 3, card 3. So once again, it was the graphic organizer that was provided in the program, and I went ahead and reflected on some of the goals that I had for my future classroom. So underlined in red, we have some reflective practices that can be implemented, such as acknowledging the students, providing students an inclusive classroom, and being culturally representative in the classroom, and sort of how that kind of goal would carry out, what the students would do, what the classroom would look like, and what my role would be in that. So I was reflected on the goal and that I would want to implement into my classroom. And so at the introductory level, I understand the use of reflective practices in the classroom, and therefore this artifact demonstrates the competence in this PLO by highlighting some reflective practices that I plan to use. This artifact was selected from ARL 645, Developing Fluency in Reading, and I aligned this artifact with PLO 3. For my annotations circled in blue, I have some practitioner research methods that I used or that I found. And underlined in red, I have instruction in traditional and digital learning environment strategies that I found for this paper. So this was a research paper on reading fluency. So circle in blue are some of my references that I use. So to show that it was research-based, and some of the instructional strategies that were used to teach students about or how to develop their reading fluency. And we use some regular programs, traditionally based, and we also reflected on digital programs such as using multimedia talking books for access to videos, doing read alouds through videos or through digitally that the students would be able to access on their own. So this artifact is my analysis of one of the articles that I've used for this research paper, and it examines how teachers can use technology to support students' reading fluency. And this artifact aligns with PLO 3 at the introductory and developing level. So at the introductory level, I understand the practitioner research methods that were used in this study. And at the developing level, I am able to apply the instructional strategies to develop students' reading fluency using these digital platforms that were reflected in the research study. And this artifact demonstrates competence in this PLO by analyzing which practitioner research methods that can be applied to the classroom based in traditional and digital learning environments. So this artifact was selected from ARL 646 comprehension strategies. So circled in blue is some assessment strategies, and underlined in red is some instructional strategies. So just to go over my annotations really quickly, I really focused on informal assessments, so asking students throughout instruction and monitoring students' progress. And for instruction, it's sort of the same way. This was a lesson plan based for sixth graders, so it's mostly just them doing their own sort of thing and you guiding them. So I use guiding questions, make sure that students are understanding and justifying their responses. So like I said, this was for a small group of sixth graders, teaching them about text structure, and this artifact addresses the instructional strategies and assessment methods that I intended to use for this lesson. And this artifact aligns with PLO 1 at the developing level, so I was able to analyze what I have learned in the MAE program in regards to instruction and assessment and go ahead and apply that. So this artifact demonstrates the competence of this PLO, as I was able to apply the advanced approaches that I have learned to support students' learning and teach them about text structure in this situation. This next artifact was from ECE 652, which is ECE Learning and Development. I aligned this artifact with PLO 4 at the developing levels. So this artifact is a reflection of an observation I did for this course. I observed a TK classroom for a good part of the morning and observed their daily routines and kind of how they learn in that kind of setting. Underlined in red, I have my reflective practices. So kind of how they organize their day, their daily routines, how they learn, their centers that they do. So this artifact aligns with PLO 4 at the developing level because I was able to analyze the way specific students participated in learning activities. So as a guide for this observation, I really focused on several students that both learned differently, and I reflected on what the difference was between these two students and how they learned. This artifact demonstrates competence in this PLO by reflecting on how they learned in an early childhood classroom based on their daily routines. So this artifact was selected from ECE 653, Best ECE Teaching Practices, and I aligned this with PLO 3 at the master level. So in blue, I highlighted some traditional learning, and in underlined in red, I have digital learning that I use. So this was a first grade social studies lesson. So for digital, I used a video, an introduction video, Google Earth, as a way to allow students to kind of interact with it. And for traditional learning, I used the whiteboard. I used measures with walking around the classroom. They work collaboratively with one another. And so this artifact was really an implementation of research methods that can be used to inform the strategies that I chose to use while developing this instruction. And This artifact aligns with PLO 3 at the master's level, as mentioned earlier. So I was able to create a lesson plan by using the research methods while I was planning my instruction. And MAE PLO 3 indicates the need for the application of research methods to be used to inform instruction. So this artifact really demonstrated the competence by creating a lesson plan using both traditional and a digital learning environment. This artifact was selected from ECE 654 collaborative partnerships and aligned with PLO 1 at the master's level. So circled in blue, I have some advanced approaches that were reflected, and underlined in red were some instruction and assessment strategies that I would use. So collaborating with families, using different programs to be developmentally appropriate, using free play as a way for students to learn, and culturally diverse, making sure that I am an effective leader in a culturally diverse classroom. So this artifact was selected from my personal vision statement that I wrote in this course, and I really reflected on the principles that I wanted, or that I found most important in an early childhood classroom. And this artifact aligns with PLO 1 at the master level. So I was able to evaluate the principles of early childhood education and choose the ones that really were most important to me and my teaching pedagogy. So MAE PLO 1 indicates the importance of using advanced approaches for all three: instruction, assessment, and learning. And therefore, I reflected upon this in my personal vision statement. So the next artifact was selected from ECE 655, inclusive ECE practices. So circled in blue, I have some learner characteristics to keep in mind when planning instruction, and underlined in red, I have some customized learning experiences that I could implement. So scaffolding, using anchor charts to help students focus, let students move around, interact with the content, and provide students a visual representation of the content. So this was an activity grid I completed based on a science lesson for first graders. And this artifact is really a graphic organizer of how I would differentiate instruction for all the students in the classroom. And it aligns with PLO 3 at the developing master level. So at the developing level, I was able to apply the principles of customized learning. And at the master level, I was able to create customized learning experiences for students. And this artifact demonstrates competence in this PLO by creating a learning experience that reflects on principles of customized learning. My last artifact was selected from MAE 670, and this artifact was a research study review that we completed in this course. So we chose a relational practitioner research question and then went ahead and found 5 research-based studies that would inform our question. So this artifact just focuses on 2 of the research studies, and I underlined some reflective practices that I found. So based on experiential-based learning, project-based learning, some game-based learning, and really what the positive effects were of that. And this aligns with PLO 4 at the master's level. So I was able to evaluate some research studies that aligned with my relational practitioner research question. And MAE PLO 4 indicates reflective practices as a necessity in the program. So I demonstrate competence in this PLO by evaluating the reflective practices that contribute to the implementation of experiential-based learning in middle childhood learners. Okay, thank you for viewing my presentation.